Is that queued up? Is that running?
Yeah, it's running.
Oh, recorded that? Great.
Yeah, we're chilling, man. It's got...
All right. Well, welcome back, folks, to another episode of the LoneWolf Howlcast. I don't know. What are we? On the road?
I thought we were
Abroad?
Logic and Reason.
Of logic and reason, on the road, and or possibly quite both abroad. I'm trying to avoid traffic right now in the greater New England area of the United States. We are definitely not taking the right turn. So, in this episode, we bring you a time of the sons of Arius and when the oceans drank Atlantis as we travel through our trials and tribunals of the day.
To a casino.
To a casino for a concert that was canceled while we were busy crossing on the ferry. And the tickets are... Stop screwing with the controls, Tiral.
Hey.
Mind your own damn business
It's
over
warm.
there. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, folks, Tiral and I were heading to a concert at Foxwoods Casino. Lo and behold, literally crossing across the Long Island Sound, that all changed rather dramatically as the concert we were heading to was suddenly replaced by another concert. Yet we already had tickets, we already have our rooms reserved, and we figured, what the hell? Two Roads Brewery is but a mere 2 exits from Bridgeport. And we decided, for better or for worse, possibly a little for worse, to hit up Two Roads Brewery and check it out.
It was a fantastic.
And lo,
Fantastic.
the beer was divine. And lo, the company was saucy. Thank you, Allie. We appreciated it very much.
Alley of Texaco or Pizzaco.
Up ahead, it's Pizzaco.
Yeah.
What is it, Above and Beyond? Is that the jingle?
Yeah.
So, we've enjoyed quite a few... Actually, hold on. Two Roads Brewery now has an experimental sister brewery called Area 2. Frankly, I think it's cooler than Area 51. Some people disagreed, but whatever. They're doing experimental beer at Area 2, Two Roads. I myself thoroughly enjoyed a lager aged in balsamic vinegar barrels.
I got a hemp-infused mango bullshit.
Tiral got a weed drink.
It tasted great.
We both sampled, I think between the two of us, we sampled at least 8 or 10, right?
For legal sake.
The samplings. We got like very tiny, like maybe 20 millimeter splashes of samples.
Yeah, nothing.
And then between us, I think we had 4 beers total.
Right. Totally responsible.
One of us, though, spent $200 on beer to take home today. No names.
No names.
No name calling, though. No name calling.
No names. Don't blame. We're just trying to support local businesses, small businesses.
Local businesses abroad?
Abroad. You know, it's not local to us, but it's local to somebody.
You know what, Tiral? All I know is the Emperor lives.
That's true.
So let's get into this.
Yes.
We're recording while we're abroad. The AC is going because it's freaking hot out. Somehow, even though it was freezing, it was like 40s over the water. Now it's like 70 on land.
Yes.
Stupid New England weather, man.
Climate change.
Okay. There's a couple things I brought to Tiral's attention earlier. We're going to get political, folks, so strap in. Everybody, the memes, the social media takes, everybody thinks Putin is a bona fide idiot and he's only supported by people that are actually smart and able to conduct his actions into something reasonable. My take on this is you've got Estonia and you've got a Slovenia right next to Ukraine, and there's a third country, and I apologize. Moldova. These are all former Soviet bloc countries that were just puppet governments. My take, LoneWolf's take on this, is that Putin, the long game, is Putin is trying to fatigue the Western world with the ridiculous dollar value. I shouldn't say ridiculous. The necessary dollar value being thrown into supporting Ukraine. And then he's going to back out of Ukraine and then say, okay, well, now I'm going to surround Ukraine by invading these other countries. And the Western world will be so spent from all the support that they threw at Ukraine that there won't be the money there to support the other countries.
I mean, these sanctions are hard on everybody. These sanctions, it's been a month of sanctions, and already you've seen cracks like where like India is buying off Russian oil and gas and things like that. Like 1 month of hardcore sanctions is not easy on anybody's economy.
Tiral, at what point does it become economy breaking? Do you have a rough estimate on that?
To Russia or to other places?
To Russia. Like, let's say, right, the rest of the world can suck it up. Like, right, gas prices for us in the States, they suck, but nobody's economy is going to crash because gas prices went up $1. You know?
Well, I mean, for us, but like if you're in Germany, gas prices are skyrocketing.
I think, what is it, $9 a gallon now?
Yeah.
Or $9 US
liter.
dollars, but I don't know what it is, what it
liter.
translates to in euros.
No, definitely for European countries, it can shake their economies.
Right, but all of a sudden, Russia doesn't have the materials to make new tanks.
Right.
To make new missiles.
Every dollar you spend on Russian gas and oil is a dollar going towards tanks and missiles.
So without that income, I feel, and this is completely anecdotal, folks, but it feels like Russia will collapse first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not, not price free. Like the Europeans, the Americans, like we're all going to be affected negatively. But if you want to destroy Russia economically, that's what you got to do.
I mean, even one of the oligarchs has already put out, what was it, $1 million hit on Putin?
Yeah.
One of the oligarchs living in exile. Hell, even one of the other oligarchs has come forward and said this is a superior bad idea.
Yeah. At least 3, but maybe
Andre
5.
something, I can't remember his last name. You'd know it, Tiral. I just can't remember right now.
Well, I mean, multiple oligarchs who are billionaires, and now they're not billionaires anymore, instantaneous.
Imagine that. Reverse overnight crypto coin unriches.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So that's my take on the long game. Tiral, you and I were talking off air about what your take on that long game was. What are you thinking?
So based on everything that's been coming out, it really does look like Putin's an idiot. Like, it really, like, so I don't think the conventional wisdom is wrong. So I'll give you one story about how big of an idiot he is. George Bush, who, is a...
Which one? Specify which one.
The second one.
Okay.
He's a born-again...
George W., right?
George W. He was a born-again Christian, and he's very, like, swayed by religiosity. And, like, there was, like, some story where, like, Putin's parents, when they were getting bombed, they risked their lives to get, like, a cross that's, like, a family cross. It's a family heirloom. And they gave it to Putin. This is all bullshit, by the way. But, like, George Bush goes to Putin and is like, I heard about your cross. And Putin's like, what is he talking about? Like, what? But the guy is a manipulator. And he, the next time they met, he just bought, like, a cross and said, like, oh, this is the family cross my mother and father sacrificed themselves for. And George Bush was like, oh, my God. This guy's my brother. He's my Christian brother. I looked into his eyes and saw, like...
Hatred.
A friend.
Genocide.
Yeah, none of that. He saw...
air quotes, denazification.
Yeah,
That's not what George W. saw.
No, George W. saw a brother in Christianity, and he fell in love. Fast forward a couple more meetings with the guy. George Bush got harangued for about 40-something minutes to fire Dan Rather because Dan Rather said something bad about Putin. And Putin's like, oh, he's under your payroll, you gotta fire him. George Bush spends the next 40 minutes to an hour trying to explain to Putin that, like, I can't fire Dan Rather. That's not how this works.
Yeah, it's not state media. I mean, kind of now in the modern area, in a roundabout way, it's state media now, but back then it wasn't state media.
So, Bush tries to explain to him. Putin goes on another like hour to 2 hour rant about whatever. And Bush finally hits like, oh my God, this guy has no idea how the world works. And he's an idiot.
That's George W. coming to that conclusion.
George the Lesser. He was so concerned when he went back to America and he told, the CIA and other like intelligence people.
Alphabet soup.
The alphabet soup.
The alphabet soup.
They're like, hey, I think Putin's an idiot. They were all like, yeah, we know. Like we've been tracking him and like he doesn't understand anything. So he gets so concerned, he sets up a meeting, an emergency meeting with NATO. He goes to NATO in Europe, and he's like, hey, by the way, Putin's an idiot. He doesn't understand how the world works. He doesn't understand anything. And they were like, what do you mean? And Bush, who fell in love with the guy just a few months ago, was like, yeah, like, this guy's an idiot, and like he has his finger on the bomb. And like, so that's like a confirmed story that's been declassified.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've both read that, multiple versions of that story.
It's quite concerning that like we got to get past the Putin being this like Russian KGB genius who understands things and like plays fifth dimensional chess. Like, yeah, he's got Trump as an asset, but like that was cheap. And there's stories now where he's angry at Trump for being such a shitty asset.
I think we're far enough in we can start dropping curse words, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I gotta edit myself out from earlier.
Yeah, go for it.
No, you're doing the first edit, remember?
Oh,
you're doing the rough edit now, and I'm doing the post edit.
Yeah. So like, like we're getting all these stories where like the entire world is like, oh, Putin's an idiot. He's just very clever, and he takes good tactical risks, meaning he sees like an opportunity and he goes in, but he's not strategically intelligent.
So on that note, I want to interject. We've seen it on the news, and you and I have our sources that we go to, that because of his invasion of Ukraine, he's lost something like 60% of his upper level military leadership.
Yeah.
Going into Ukraine, like generals,
or maybe more,
multi-star generals, colonels, majors
that we know
of that aren't. There might be more that aren't being reported.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the upper echelons of military Russian leadership are getting taken out, going into Ukraine. Anyway, continue, Tiral. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
No. So we're basically the first time Putin has actually had a war. This is now. Every other time he's been backed off or backed up by either our nation of Russia, the FSB, other things. He's always taken risks that were extremely on his side. So he invaded Georgia. He took a part of Georgia. Like, Georgia doesn't have an army. There's very little risk. He took Crimea. The Crimeans believe themselves as Russians, and the Ukrainians thought of Crimea as Russians. So, like, there was no fighting. It's a very, very small risk. So he's had about 22 years where he's taken very low risks for very high rewards, and he's won every time. And finally, he took a risk that was not overwhelmingly on his side, and he's shitting the bed.
So let's get back to, I had my opinion on what Putin's long game is, but before we went on the air, you had an opinion on what the short game was for him, or an alternative version where you were talking about it was a failed short game that the U.S. actually trapped Putin into this.
Well, that's
so go ahead.
Well, that's one of my conspiracy theories is that.
Sure, we'll both put on our tinfoil hats right now. Go ahead.
Like one of my conspiracy theories is goading Russia, Putin, to invade Ukraine, because every bomb that is used in Ukraine, every mortar, every plane, every helicopter, every tank that goes to waste in Ukraine is one less of each to hand for NATO to deal with. Because realistically, Russia is not a first world country. And now we're officially saying they're not a superpower because they can't project power. They just have things that they have left over from Soviet Union. And they have nukes, which is what
is scary.
Yeah, which is Soviet Union produced. No new nuke has come out of Russia.
Right, so we're talking, at best, maybe 40-year-old ordnance.
Yeah, that they've been keeping up with.
Yeah, but over time, as we've all learned, especially through the Imperium of Man, any kind of continued upkeep eventually has a fail point.
I mean, so the U.S. Department of Defense has guesstimated that 60% of all the mortars and rockets and everything that Russia's used against Ukraine has been duds. Like, it didn't work.
Well, we've also seen that, too. We've seen the images of, like, full-on rockets lodged in somebody's kitchen that never detonated.
Yeah.
Or stuck in a pothole in the middle of a Ukrainian road.
Yeah.
And it didn't detonate. The stuff that does detonate does a hellacious amount of damage, but it looks like they have a lot of failed ordnance as well.
40% of is what the Western nations believe of everything that Russia has launched has worked. 60% has not.
Wow, that's some serious stats there.
Yeah.
What's your just for the record and for our listeners? What's your source for those stats, so we can put it in the links?
Oh, the Department of Defense in the United States. The weekly, daily and weekly press conferences.
Cool.
So we're not quoting Ministry of Defense from Ukraine, who are incentivized to like talk crazy.
Yeah, to downplay it and for the morale, which is necessary. We're not. Don't get us wrong. We're not coming down to Ukraine, obviously, but when you're in the thick of it, morale is huge. You know, especially if you're what appears to be the losing side when you're fighting against a giant. You know, morality is a huge factor towards your success.
But the United States intelligence services and military, they're like, this Russian military is not first world. It is not like up to snuff.
Let me ask you this: has there been any further definition on what the symbols on the Russian material is all about? We know the Z, and there's the triangle with the dots, and there's a third one that I can't remember.
V. There's a V.
A V.
Yeah, they were, because the Russian logistics was so bad. Initially, all those symbols were just like, so Z stood for going after Ukraine. V stood for going after Mariupol and like the Donbass. And the triangles were like, you know, in places in between. But when the Russian propaganda people realized that everyone was watching these videos with the Z, because, you know, Kyiv was the primary target. So when everyone saw videos, it was always with Z. They took the letter Z and made it a propaganda symbol of the entire war effort. So Z went from just like go to Kyiv symbol to, oh, this is a symbol of our special operations.
Yeah, because I think a bunch of stuff you and I both saw was that it was supposed to indicate forced disposition in a geographical area, or at least a designation like,
exactly.
Your team is going here, this general is sending his forces here, etc. But yeah, it seems like all the Z's, the zeros, I guess, waka waka waka, you heard it here first, folks, have gone to Ukraine.
I think Z also represents West, so that makes sense because Kyiv is West.
Yeah, I think it's almost as far west as you can get. A major metropolitan population center as you can get before you hit Poland, I think, right?
Right. Kharkiv is in the east of Ukraine.
And then, I'm going to say it wrong, but Lviv or Lviv?
Lviv is all the way west.
That's north. Isn't that north of Kiev?
It's all the way west.
Right.
It's very close to Poland.
That just undoes everything I just said about Kiev. But all right, continue.
No, Z stood for west.
Yeah, all right.
And so it just went from like just a logistics symbol to oh, this is a symbol of our war effort. So the Russian propaganda is all about the letter Z now. So anyone who protested the war, they would get their houses or compartment doors vandalized with the letter Z and called traitor.
So there's 2 points about protestation that I got to bring. One is my own stupid observation, and it's not a protest at all. But how cool was Vladimir Putin at his debut at Russian Ninja Warrior when he came out on stage with those gantries and the red, white, and blue lights, and he was getting ready to do his first run? I thought that was kind of cool. Second thing, though, a real protest, a super ballsy protest, was a female news anchor on state-funded media who got up with a sign behind another anchor while that anchor was broadcasting. And the first anchor, the sign said something like, "The war in Ukraine is a lie. State media is lying to you." And she immediately was arrested, and she hasn't been heard of since.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember her name, because you want to talk about an insane heroic action.
Balls.
That was nuts. That was nuts. That she just like took the gut check and was like, "I'm doing this."
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I'm sacrificing my entire life. Like I will
and maybe her families. We don't know.
Yeah, I have no career, no career prospects now. Nothing. We're sacrificing everything. But like her sign said, the truth is like they're lying to you. This war in Ukraine is.
Yeah, this war in Ukraine is. I can't remember the exact
real
terminology, but the war in Ukraine is a lie. It was part of it. It's not what you think was another part of it.
And the words they're lying to you.
It's all a lie, or that you're being lied to, or something like that. And she was standing right behind another news anchor and flashed a sign. And then I don't know if the state media went offline or
they went offline. They tackled her offline. Yeah.
Went through like a color check. You know. All right. So that's that, folks. There's something else happening in the lower northeastern U.S. And for the longest time, Tiral and I have been thinking about getting into the cannabis business, but the geographical area we've been looking at consistently votes no. And it looked like New York was starting to vote it, and New York, as the state itself, and even those who were originally incarcerated for marijuana charges were getting first dibs at licenses to sell. So Tiral and I were looking at a place on Long Island. But unfortunately, a story has been circulating in the news the past few weeks of an MS13 death squad that killed 4 guys in Brentwood, Long Island.
High schoolers.
No, this happened in 2017. Because a female high schooler, she was 17 at the time, lured these 4 guys into the woods with promises of, wait for it, weed, and instead there was a MS-13 death squad waiting for these guys. There was actually 5 guys. I apologize. Unfortunately, 4 of them lost their lives, by the way, to machete wounds and blunt head trauma. The other guy managed to escape. We don't know how yet, but the woman that led them in there, it was under the guise of a promise of drugs, and specifically marijuana. That's in the court documents. So I don't think anywhere Tiral and I are looking to invest is going to happen anytime soon in Long Island. But that story merits some reading, because it almost reads like a soap opera.
It does. It reads made up.
Yeah. Except that the fact that there's real death involved, which is a shame. And I'm going to sound like... How far are we, Squirrel?
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to sound like the total asshole. It turns out these 5 guys, no relationship to the burger joint, were presenting themselves as MS-13 members unofficially on social media.
Wait, what?
And it got found out by real MS-13, and hence, of course, it was a death sentence. So this woman, her nickname is Diabolita. I hope I'm saying that right, the little devil.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call anybody that outside of a gang. I don't think Tiral, well, maybe Tiral might. I don't know. He might call some of his women that. But,
Easy.
But, yeah, so she is affiliated with MS-13, allegedly. And these 5 guys were pretending, and because of that...
Either they're pretending to be MS-13, or they were part of another gang, like the 18th Street Gang or something.
Well, I mean, even as who I am, I'm not going to give... You folks can figure out what I am based on my voice, I guess, but I always sign the prefer not to disclose on any kind of documents. And in my mindset, if you're pretending in my knowledge base, by the way, folks, little back history on Lone Wolf here. I've had actual gang training. Believe it if you want, don't if you want. It's true. And the worst case to deal with is wannabes. The guys looking to get in, that are on the cusp of getting in, are willing to do anything to get in. The biggest mistake you can do is disrespecting a gang and pretending you're one of them when you're not. So these 5 guys were courting serious consequences by doing that already. And then this, I don't know the full details yet because it's still being deliberated in court. But she allegedly led them into the woods with the promise of drugs and specifically marijuana. And unfortunately, 4 out of 5 of them lost their lives. If all 5 had lost their lives, nobody would have a clue what was going on. One of them got away and was able to report to the police.
So basically, the prohibitionists in New York State might be able to leverage this to...
They're going to leverage this, clamp down on personal and social use of marijuana, and yours and my pipe dreams are going to go down the toilet.
Well, we didn't put any money down.
Not yet, but it's going to be harder to do.
But I mean, we're going off a tangent, but not everyone, but a lot of people I know who are in the marijuana business in San Fran, they're not doing so great. It's not this...
Not this cash cow?
It's not the cash cow. Everywhere where legalizations happen, the black market has been able to take advantage more than the legal market.
But how, okay, logically thinking about this, which is one of the taglines of this Howlcast, right, is if you're importing it illegally, that's got to be way more expensive, even, never mind, internationally, but even if you're taking it across state lines, like, for example, from Colorado to New York.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's a federal offense. The cost involved with that to hide it and smuggle it must be way more expensive than selling it legitimately. How do you hash that out on the black market?
It's still less expensive than the taxes and the quality regulations of legal weed. When you have legal weed, the quality regulations are pretty severe. Like, that stuff that you pay for, you get what you pay for. Like, it's the standards are very high for legal weed. And then you have the taxes on top of it. You add the cost of both two together, they're more expensive than, coyoting it from Colorado or something like that.
Wow, man. Huh, alright, that's completely counterintuitive to me. What you're saying makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, you got police departments who, basically steal your money. They stop the cash vehicles, the Brinks trucks, and just take the money, saying this is from illegal use because it's federally still illegal.
Yep.
So
maybe, hopefully, in the next few years, anyway, the federal stance on that will change, and it'll open up the floodgates for low-tier guys like you and me.
Well, the House of Representatives just passed marijuana legalization, so we got to see what the Senate does now.
But that bill on the floor right now, is that for personal use or for distribution for social consumption?
Just ban legal prohibition, no more prohibition.
All right, so you and I could have an ounce on us each, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, if the House
but if you and I tried to sell that, we're still in trouble federally.
Right.
Gotcha.
Because federal's so this is the thing, that when you buy legal weed, you're getting what you pay for. There's a lot of standards, there's a lot of testing, quality has to be high. When you don't get it legally, it could be whatever. It could be
oregano.
It could be
cut with oregano, or basil, or whatever, dried basil.
The weed vapes. We just found. I think we found 6 months ago that it was the lowest quality weed, the most chemical, the worst weed you could smoke. Was the weed vapes that were illegally sold. And, it's not regulated. If you buy illegal, you could get anything.
Yep.
I mean, you hope your dealer is good, but I mean, who knows?
Well, I know I had some zingers before we started recording today, Tiral, on our doomed journey to go see Sabaton. And I can't remember what those damn zingers were, even though I pounded the dashboard and said I should remember that. So I think for now, folks, once again, I am asking you to continue the conversation in the comments and like and subscribe, please.
Wait, we didn't even finish the Russia topic.
We bounced around on Russia, and it's both conjecture on our parts, the long game or the American game. I think I'm willing to put $5 down on my version of the long game.
I just know that as a factual statement, every time Russia uses something on Ukraine, whether it's a missile, it's a helicopter, it's an airplane, it's a bomb, that's one less bomb NATO has to deal with. Because between this economic sanctions, Russia can't build anything new.
They don't have their own natural resources to start building steel and making tanks and stuff out of steel or aluminum to make missile bodies.
They have one factory in the entire country that makes tanks.
Wow.
They have like
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The scary prospect, though, is if Russia works out under the table of China. Even though China, I think even publicly they said at this point that they don't support what Putin's doing.
Right.
But if Russia works out something under the table, they could just start importing Chinese armaments.
It's not Chinese armaments, it's Chinese chips. So like microtransactors and things
Imagine
like that.
You're driving a war tank. I'm going to spin off on what you just fucked up on there, Tiral.
Yeah.
Imagine you're driving a Russian war tank, and it says, to continue this battle, please complete this microtransaction.
The DLC has not been downloaded.
Right, you got to download the next season when you're in Russian tank.
Yeah, the season pass.
And you're looking through the scope on the main gun, and
it just closes.
It's like a yen sign saying like
200,000 yen more.
It's yuan in China, right? It's yen in Japan. I screwed that up. Sorry, folks. But imagine that. You're the Russian gunner, you're the tank commander, and it's like, to continue this battle, please complete this transaction.
Yeah, that is some cyberpunk bullshit. I'm thinking it's gonna happen.
Oh man,
that's realistic.
All right. On that note, Tiral, let's wrap this up because we're almost there.
I don't want to wrap up.
All right. What do you want to talk about, Tiral?
You want to wrap it up?
Wait, I said I wanted to wrap it up. You said you wanted to keep going. So what do you want to talk about, Tiral?
I'm just saying, Slava Ukraine, glory to Ukraine, those heroes. They're standing up to an empire and they're winning.
Oh, you know what? That brings up a good point, Tiral. That's something I did in the video edit of our last two Howlcasts. Is I'm getting rid of the funny. I mean, yeah, we're joking around and we're cutting up, but I'm not going to be doing the memes. It's pretty much just going to be the Ukrainian flag and a support and solidarity to Ukraine until this travesty ends. So for a little while, folks, you aren't going to get as much funny out of us as you would expect, but you're going to get some. Hopefully we made you laugh a little bit.
Yeah, these are serious topics. People are dying.
Exactly, and according to the Ukrainians, 15,000 troops, Russian troops, have died so far for their country. It reminds me of, I don't know if it was Patton or Montgomery or one of the World War II generals said something along the lines, because Tyrion Lannister mimics this in Game of Thrones, where he says something like, there's a lot of men out there, let them die for their country. Yeah, let's go kill them.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that seems to be like Ukraine's unspoken mantra right now.
Yeah, my job is to make you die for your country.
Right.
Like, all respect to the Ukrainians. They were supposed to die in 2 days.
Yeah, they were supposed to lose in 48 hours and just roll up like a rug. And that was going to be it.
We're on day 35, I think.
And Ukraine is winning back territory. they're winning back. Like, not only are they holding their ground, they're taking back lost ground.
Everywhere they get their ground back, they find people who have been killed, raped, their bodies desecrated after they're dead.
Yeah, we just read that story about that 15-year-old girl and what happened to her mother.
Yeah, it's, the Russians are doing they're doing atrocities, and these Ukrainians are standing up. And honestly, for the betterment of the entire world, they're chewing up Russia, and the whole world is like, oh, you guys aren't a superpower. You just have nukes. You have nukes and you have gas. You're not a superpower.
Speaking of gas, I know I read it. I don't know if you read it, Tiral, but like Russian troops went into Chernobyl unprotected and were like kicking up radioactive dust. Like those guys killed themselves.
They were digging trenches.
Unless they're going to get some sort of serious radiation treatment out of the deal, those guys just killed themselves doing that.
Well, the word is 6 busloads of Russian soldiers were taken into Belarus for hospitalization for radiation sickness. And, there have been a few people who asked them questions. And this is kind of indicative of what the soldiers are in Russia. They had no idea about Chernobyl. They had no idea. They have no context for the history of Chernobyl.
They had no idea they were digging in radioactive waste.
None. Zero.
Wow.
These are uneducated people from the eastern side of Russia, not Moscovites. Not people from Moscow. These are people from Siberia and, all those places. They're not educated. They have no idea what Chernobyl is. They have no history of it. So when they were told to dig trenches in extremely radiated land, they just did. They didn't know what they were doing.
Like even what the hell? I think it might have been a Time or a Nat Geo article about a team that went to go check out way before this conflict, and I think even before COVID hit. But it was a team that went to go check out the elephant foot, which is the melted mass of the reactor core that's still like crazy stupid hot with radiation. And the deal was that anything you put down on the ground, even on purpose or by accident, you had to leave there because it was like instantly deathly radioactive and you couldn't pick it up and take it out with you. Right. And that's years after the incident.
You need the electricity to keep dealing with the heat from the meltdown. So
it's still generate. Let me get this straight, Tiral. The elephant foot is still generating electricity?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The Chernobyl power plant is still running.
How? Like it melted all of its connection rods. It melted all of its controls.
That was just one reactor. There's still 3 or 4 more left.
Holy crap! You gotta make some, 10 figures to work there? Because that's a death sentence, I would think, if you're not utterly insulated.
Well,
or a 4-hour shift or less or something,
So, as an energy expert, one of the craziest things that I just couldn't believe was a war has started. I thought every nuclear power plant would get into shutdown phase. Hey, there's fighting, there's missiles, there's artillery. We should shut down our nuclear power plants. Dude, not a single nuclear power plant in Ukraine has shut down. Not a single one. You would think they would be common sense to be like, hey, there's a war going on.
Right, we sink the core, we stick in the control rods to dissipate any excess radiation, and leave it like that until we come back.
Yeah, shut it down till...
In other words, don't Homer Simpson your power plant.
Right. And not a single nuclear power plant in Ukraine, and they're almost all based on nuclear.
And Ukraine has taken back Chernobyl recently too.
Yeah, because the Russians gave up. They're just like, oh no, why am I pissing blood?
Yeah, why am I sick all of a sudden? Why is my hair falling out?
Yeah.
Why am I getting these lesions on my skin? Why am I coughing gobbets out of my lungs all of a sudden?
That's strange.
Yeah, why is that happening, Commissar?
Yeah. That's the only reason why Chernobyl got given back to Ukrainians. They were just like, I don't understand why I'm pissing blood, but it can't be good.
All right. I'm going to switch gears from the political for a second. This is a little bit of a surprise for you, Tiral, but I've been watching a crap load of anime lately. Once COVID hit, I started working my way through OG Gundam, like 0078. I'm into Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta right now. And I have to say, it is retarded. And I am utterly disappointed. Despite the subreddit for Gundam telling me that after episode 20, it gets good. No, Bicha, Ino, and Mondo are a cumulative negative for the entire team and utterly useless. And I don't know why Captain Bright hasn't pushed them all out of an airlock yet. They're completely ineffectual in combat. They're an absolute drain on what little resources they have. And like, I don't know, Mondo and Bicha also, collaborated with the enemy against the Argama. Like, why the hell aren't these guys executed yet as traitors? Utterly useless. And the stupid, idiotic pratfalls where people are tripping over their own feet, walking into door frames, and the absolute sub-intellectual, retarded cyber new types like Puru, who runs around going, Puru, 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 and that's why her name is Puru, and a couple of the others whose names escape me, something Bottom, Marie Bottom, or I can't remember, but they're like, unless they're in the cockpit of a Gundam, they're absolute infantile retards, and I'm so close to not finishing the series. Please, Tiral, tell me why I should try and finish the series.
I think you just invalidated any reason for most people to listen to us.
What? I was talking about anime.
That Gundam rant just told everyone, like, these two guys.
Oh, I guess we're racist against anime? Is that where we are?
I'm just saying. We're
racist and anime folks? Is that where we are?
Saying.
How dare we?
Yo, listen, Gundam after Gundam 0 has been bad.
Man, I'm not even that far. I'm up to Zeta, which is still somewhere between 0078 and 0083. 0083 Stardust Memory is the stuff that, like, classic literature is written based on. MS13 was superb. 0080 War in the Pocket, insanely amazing. Some of the best character development I've ever seen. And then you got Double Zeta, which is like, let me be this knight in service to Zeon, and I'm going to trip over my feet in every scene. And then, let me get replaced by some utter fucktard lady Chara, who gets all hot and bothered and fingers herself while she's piloting a Gundam. Can't pilot at all.
This was an upgrade.
It's an upgrade from Lord Marshmallow. I can't say his real name. It's like Mishamaru or something like that. But it sounded a hell of a lot like Marshmallow. All right. On that note, I'm ranting.
Don't watch Gundam, guys.
Well, don't watch Double Zeta. Don't watch Double Zeta. Everything else, as far as I know, is pretty cool. There's all sorts of love for iron-blooded orphans out there, which I haven't seen yet. I'm working my way there. But I think somewhere after Char's counterattack, the mainstream Gundam continuity just like spirals into a bunch of different storylines. So Char's counterattack is up next for me. We'll see how it goes.
It's not gonna go well, guys. This is just a spoiler alert. It's not.
I got to do the spoiler alert of Wuga now. Great, I'll put that in the video. All right, folks. On that note, please continue the conversation in the comments and like and subscribe.
I feel so bad. We didn't even finish a complete thought this whole time.
Yeah, we did. We handled Putin, Russia, Ukraine, marijuana sales in greater New York and specifically Long Island. I definitely think we covered our doomed concert trip. That was doomed about an hour into it. We didn't know until we got across on the ferry.
We're going. All right.
We're doing it anyway.
Wish us luck. See you guys.
For science.
For science.